Not only will you probably be happier, more content, more well-rested because you're making a decision that is meant to make you feel happier, feel more content, feel more rested, whatever it is, but you are also perpetuating a new cycle of showing yourself love and care. Welcome to the Sparkle Project. I'm Emily, a divorced mom of two on my own journey to shine a little brighter. This podcast is here to help you protect your sparkle amidst the chaos and impossible expectations of modern motherhood. If you're a mom ready to choose yourself and shine, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. I am feeling lovey today, and let me tell you, it is not because dating as a single mom is going particularly well for me right now. The love I am feeling is actually for myself, and being able to honestly claim that out loud feels kind of amazing. I, like so many women, so many moms, struggled with self-love for most of my life. Like, I wanted desperately to love myself, but it felt really hard to do that. When we are trained to constantly be measuring ourselves to these external standards of what it means to be good enough, there is so much room for us to fall short. In fact, we can't possibly meet those expectations. And so I found myself for, again, the majority of my life, feeling like I was falling short, feeling like I wasn't enough, feeling like I wish I could just be better at literally all the things. It's like I would love myself more if I wasn't so awkward in situations with new people. Or I'd love myself more if I lost 20 pounds. Or I would love myself more if I didn't have such a damn hard time keeping my house clean. And okay, yes, there are things that I have worked on. There are things that I still want to work on. But coming to a place of self-acceptance and self-love doesn't mean we have to be completely happy with where we're at now. It doesn't mean we have to be complacent and not allow ourselves to grow further. It really just means that we're moving through the world with a sense of care for ourselves. And when you have gone most of your life without that care, when things start to shift to a place of moving with love for yourself, it honestly feels incredible. And so my goal with this episode is to hopefully help you move closer to true self-acceptance and self-love. Because from the bottom of my heart, I believe that you deserve it. We all do. So I want to start by really digging into what self-love actually means. Because I think part of the problem when we talk about self-love, or we try to go on a self-love journey to just appreciate ourselves a little bit more, we're making the idea of self-love mean something more concrete, more, more hard to access than it actually has to be. There's this idea that self-love means we have to love every part of ourselves. And that love for ourselves has to mean we're like excited about it. It's like this idea that love should feel like enthusiasm. And that's just not really what love has to be. In the way that I think about love, it's actually just this sense of care, this sense of, I want the best for you. It doesn't have to mean we like every part of ourselves. It doesn't have to mean that we accept every part of ourselves as exactly how it will always be and become complacent in that. But it does mean we are making decisions from a place of love and care for ourselves. We are considering what is best for me in this moment, in this decision I'm going to make. And it's choosing not to be so hard on ourselves for the things that maybe we're not so happy about. It's making the decision not to beat ourselves up for not being perfect. It's choosing to have compassion in the growth journey. And let me tell you, as somebody who has moved from a place of having a damn hard time with loving myself to a place of truly considering myself in every decision I make, it feels incredible. And the ripple effects of caring about ourselves in those decisions is massive. Like, not only am I kinder to myself, but my life, my day-to-day life feels better. I feel more in alignment as I move through the world. I'm able to show up to interactions with more authenticity and bring in the people who are called to that. I'm able to work on the things that I'm working on. Again, figuring out how to keep my house running more smoothly, but doing it through a lens of compassion where I'm not feeling shitty about myself because I'm not magically better at this all of a sudden. And I'm able to show up for my kids as a happier, more satisfied overall mom. And that piece is huge. So the question then is, how do we get to a place of self-love? Because if it was just as easy as saying, okay, I'm going to choose to love myself and boom, we're done, we would all do that by now. We can understand that moving through the world from a place of like having compassion and love for ourselves is probably easier and more fulfilling. But like I said earlier, there's a lot of conditioning we get about how we're falling short, and that can contribute to lifelong struggles with loving ourselves. And so it's not that easy. But I have some things I want to talk about that may actually help you progress along a journey to self-love. Because I have been on this journey myself. And again, I am in a place where I can truly say that I love myself. And so I know that it is possible to move through that journey, to get to a place where you too can feel good about who you are. You can feel love for everything that you are, even if there's still parts about yourself that you don't necessarily like so much. One of the biggest things you can do to cultivate self-love in your life is to consider yourself, truly consider yourself in your boundaries and decisions. These are the big decisions we're making about our lives, who we choose to be in relationships with, whether that's romantic or platonic, what we are choosing to do for work, where we are choosing to live, all of those things. But it's also the smaller day-to-day decisions. It's the decisions of, what am I going to make for breakfast? And am I going to feed myself scraps off my kids' plates? Or am I actually going to nourish my body with food that makes me feel good? It's the deciding maybe this season you're not going to put your kids in sports because honestly, it was too much last season and you need a break. And plus, they didn't really want to do it anyway. It's the choosing to listen to some of your music in between the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse that you might be playing on your way to school. And it's choosing to surround yourself with relationships, with people who actually show you love as well, who are modeling that respect for you to you. We are literally making so many decisions every single day that impact how we feel about ourselves. And I know for so many moms, there is so much outside of you to consider in those decisions that a lot of times you don't even make the list of what you're considering. It's like, what's best for the family without considering what's best for you. Because honestly, what's best for you might actually be the thing that's best for the family. But if you're not even considering how you're going to feel with that decision, you're not going to recognize that the way that you feel, the way that you are able to show up in your life, feeling more content, more fulfilled, more satisfied, happier, less burned out, less exhausted, that's probably more important than your kid getting their way in a certain moment. And of course, this does not mean that we are always making decisions with our needs at the top of the list. That's unrealistic. That's not what I'm talking about. But when we're in this pattern of just constantly not even considering our own needs, those decisions that don't consider our own needs stack on top of each other and create an environment and just a norm of us not being important. We are showing ourselves through that not considering our own needs that we don't really care about ourselves. We don't really have any love to give. And that cycle perpetuates because, again, we're continuing to make those decisions, continuing not to consider ourselves, and continuing to take on that feeling of like, I don't care about myself. That becomes what's just normal in our own being. So when we start to shift to a place of asking ourselves, what do I want? Again, it doesn't always mean that that's going to be the answer, that that's going to be the decision. But if we can bring attention to, what would be best for me here? That alone, just that awareness of considering what's best for us, it can have huge impacts for how we're able to care and show up for ourselves. And then, of course, sometimes we're deciding to do that instead of the thing that maybe somebody else wants us to do, but isn't quite what's best for us. Choosing not to go to your partner's work event because you don't want to. You'd rather go to bed early and get enough sleep. By making the decision that is best for you and choosing to act in that way, you are showing yourself that you do love yourself and you do care about what you think and how you feel. So not only will you probably be happier, more content, more well-rested because you're making a decision that is meant to make you feel happier, feel more content, feel more rested, whatever it is, but you are also perpetuating a new cycle of showing yourself love and care. That idea that self-care, caring for yourself, is actually what feeds self-love. And that self-love then feeds that self-care. That kind of cycle there is really, really powerful to think about. There are so many conversations out there about self-care, especially for moms, because as moms, we tend to be known for self-sacrificing, for putting our needs last, for maybe not engaging in levels of, quote, self-care that we should as humans. But I really, truly believe that one of the biggest reasons that choosing to care for ourselves, choosing to do things to meet our own needs and our own desires is so crucial is because we are showing ourselves through action that we are somebody who is worthy of love and care, worthy of our own love and care. And again, the cycle that perpetuates is a positive one. Because when you are showing yourself love and care, you are continuing to consider your own wants and needs in every situation, which then continues to build that norm of I am loved and cared for by myself, and on and on and on and on. And then the beautiful cherry on top of all of this is that our kids get to see us showing up more fulfilled, more joyful in our own lives. They are watching everything we do, and they are learning how to love themselves by how we show up for ourselves. And I think that's all what we want for our kids, right? For them to truly love and care for themselves. They exist in the same world as us that will be actively conditioning them to sacrifice themselves for systems that exist. Capitalism, patriarchy. They will enter the same workforce that will encourage them to sacrifice for the good of the company, that will prioritize revenue over rest. They will be getting all of these same messages, maybe repackaged in a new generational form, but that are keeping them in that same cycle of self-sacrifice. If we can model for them a different way, that is a beautiful gift. So again, while shifting into living life from a place of self-love may not be as easy as a snap of the fingers, choosing, okay, I love myself now, we're all good. It also doesn't have to be hard. It starts with those small moments of intention to choose to consider our own wants and needs in every boundary we set, in every decision we make. Even if we start small, the impacts of that will grow and build and turn into something really, really beautiful. And so I encourage you to start small today. Right now, ask yourself, what do I want in this moment? Or if you're considering, what are you going to do this weekend with the kids? Maybe ask yourself, what do I want before making that decision? You have so many opportunities every single day to consider yourself. So why not start now? You deserve, just like we all do, to move through the world from a place of self-love. And I hope that this gets you a little closer to that. That is all I have for you this week. If you have been enjoying the Sparkle Project, I would really appreciate if you would consider leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We will be back again next week with another guest episode. Until then, keep on shining. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Sparkle Project. Loved what you heard? Share this episode with a friend, and don't forget to leave a rating and review to show your support for the show. We'll be back next week with another episode. See you then.